So the 8-year cycle of Trump entering into politics and the back end of, I suppose, the second term now. Well, it'll be what, 12 years then in between, right? So between 2015-16 and 2028 when he finishes or retires, whatever. That's finished now, right? So you don't have to worry about Trump if you're incessantly hateful towards him. You don't have to worry about him running again in 4 years, right? Can we move past that a little bit and begin to elevate the quality of conversations that we're having around such intricate and complex ideas and branches of human existence, right? Blah, blah. Because what tends to happen is you have people who are either a little bit for Trump, and particularly in Ireland, because that's what I'm speaking of and that's what I communicate with daily, right? You have people that either support him and they'll give a reason as to why, or you have people that don't like him and they very rarely give reasons other than a name call, right? Or they put a label on him and I don't like him because he's racist. Like, we need to begin to elevate our expectations of conversations around such ideas and such things like international politics and local politics and national politics, right? And where we are going as a human species, right? Where we are going as human beings collectively in whatever haphazard way you can phrase that or frame that, and also individually as distinct ethnic groups and races, right? So we need to demand more and expect more from the quality of conversations that we get from people around these topics. Because what you take in is what you put out, right? So if you're just taking in, constantly downloading one side of a Rubik's Cube, then the only thing you're ever going to be able to talk about or describe is that one side of a Rubik's Cube, right? And a lot of the times people have been convinced that all you're seeing is a square, when in reality it's a cube, and a cube that opens up into a cross, right? All this sort of stuff. It's a three-dimensional thing. It's a three-dimensional world we're living in. People are multifaceted. They're multidimensional, right? And so are relationships between people. Just on a one-to-one, but also in terms of running a country, running a nation, relationships between different nations, what's good for people, what deals can you make where both peoples benefit, right? Both nations benefit, this sort of thing. But if we continue to allow ourselves to have such complicated questions and such complicated answers, reduced simply to, oh, well, didn't he say this 10 years ago? We're never going anywhere anyway quickly, okay? Because you're going to be stuck, and this is something I mentioned last night, that I'm seeing a lot of people frozen in time in terms of their mind. So their perception of the world and what's going on in it hasn't moved one fraction since 2016 when they were told, because we went from a place where people were very, very apathetic, disinterested in international politics. You ate what you were served. Obama is a messiah. He's great. We name our plazas after him, and we don't ask any questions about him. We accept what he says to us, and we accept what we're told about him, and that's all lovely, right? And we never question anything about him. And then Trump comes, and the same media apparatus that told us that Obama is an amazing person has now decided to do a 180 on Donald Trump and paint him as the Antichrist. The Antichrist to Obama's Messiah, right? And it would have been the case before where you could say, well, why are you talking about American politics? Because it's nothing really to do with us, right? But it does. It does. And particularly, not only did it have something to do with us prior to Trump, it has something to do with us nearly more so because of Trump. and the situation that was created around him, right? Or that he stepped into. And he had a part to play in constructing himself, right? He played a role, right? Doesn't mean it's all fake or anything, but he played a role. He knew what treatment he was going to get, and he navigated those waters successfully so, right? So he's back in office. But the reason why it involves Irish people is because in the 8 years, from 2016 up to today, there's a lot of people that still are responding in the same manufactured way that they were told to respond to this man. And to, again, similar with Obama, accept him as lovely and ask no questions. With Trump, accept him as the devil and ask no questions. When you hear people speaking about Trump, Irish people, there's a total arrogance in a lot of people where they question the mental faculties of American people because they elected somebody. And this would be coming from people who've never met American people. They've never spent a day in America. They have very little understanding over anything that happens in America. They believe that the way the Americans live is totally wrong and they could be correct in certain ways. But the fundamental rights that American people champion and love, Irish people seem to kind of spit on in a way. Going, well, look, aren't they all mad? They're all shooting each other over there. Right. Like, if that's your response to something that is incredibly complicated and incredibly clearly out of the scope of your understanding, you'd be better off just not saying anything. Because the spin that's been attached to Donald Trump over the last 8 years has allowed people to get away socially with saying the most dumb things, the most unthoughtful things imaginable, and not backing it up in any way. It has degraded people's ability to think for themselves and to form their own opinions and to back their own individual opinions against other people. Because all of a sudden people went from Donald Trump as a reality star to now I hate him, into a horrible person. But they never give you any, they don't back it up in any way, right? And if you push back on that perception in any way, you just get called names then. And the point of that is that, or my point on that, is that we need to move beyond that a little bit now, right? You can hate Trump all you want, but at least look into some of the things he says and some of the policies he's implemented and judge them. Judge the policy decisions that he makes and the aims that he says he has and the actions he takes to try and meet those aims, or if he just neglects them altogether, then judge him on those things, right? We need to move beyond the idea that because a lot of the media agrees that this person who you know nothing about other than what you're told by these people, that he is the devil, then you just go along with it, right? And you buckle to social pressure. And I want people to understand that. If you've held that view for the last 8 years, you have been heavily, heavily compromised in your thinking, and you have been brainwashed, and you've allowed yourself to have your mind and your perception taken over and decided for you, right? There's no two ways about it. You can have that personal opinion of him all you want, but back it up with something. What is it that he does that you disagree with, given the job that he has? Him personally is irrelevant, because if he wasn't president, no one would care what he was doing. Really, right? But back to Irish people. Trump thing is done now, right? And there will probably be some fallout that lands on Ireland because of that, because Trump's issue, his interest, is in making America, his country, his nation, the people he leads, making that as great and as self-sustaining as possible, which is his gift, right? But the fallout from that might mean that American companies might leave Ireland, right? So you might have billions being taken out of, if you could even say that, the Irish economy, right? You might have the workforce in Ireland take a hit. And I will preempt that by saying, like, you can either spend your time when and if that happens in pointing the finger at him and giving out saying, see, I told you, look how bad he is, didn't I tell you he was the worst? Sure, didn't he go and make his country better at the cost of me, right? Or you can look at it and go, you know what? Maybe we should be doing that here as well, right? Maybe we should be putting ourselves first. Maybe we should be looking at these American massive corporations that are coming in here and looking at it going, maybe they're taking up an Irish space. Maybe, just maybe, we have the ability amongst us and the intellectual power between us to come up with something that could replace these foreign companies, right? When they leave, if they leave, right? There's an opportunity there. But if we spend the next 8 years frozen in our thought, the way a lot of people have been frozen in their thought for the last 8 years, we are in dire straits here. We are in massive, massive trouble. And I hope, and I see this in a lot of people, that there's something inspiring to be taken from that, right? There's something beneficial to the Irish people that comes from watching what has just happened, right? And even if you don't like him, his story is phenomenal. The whole world and its mother turned against him over the last 8 years. And what did he do with that? He chewed it up and spat it back at people. And he still got to where he wanted to be, right? How many are you doing that with yourself? How many Irish people are actually doing that with themselves, right? Instead of buckling to, I told Trump, or I was told Trump is horrible, and I seen a couple of snippets of videos of him. Did you ever watch an interview with him? No. Do you know what his do you understand what his policy is on tariffs? No, what's that? Grand. Do you know what his understanding is on abortion? Yeah, he tried to take it away from everyone and ban people from having it. No. He done what the Dublin government refuses to do, and that is put power back in to the different regions. Right? Ireland would benefit massively from that. And there's a reason why there's a reason why the Irish general election was delayed until after this. Right? Given a couple of the weeks. Because they have to know now. They're going to be licking the wounds, and they will need to go to America or get a phone call with America to see what decisions will be made on Ireland's behalf, right? Or on America's behalf by the Irish government, right? So they have to wait on that. They have to sit on that. And nearly to a T, the whole political establishment in Ireland is ruining the day that Donald Trump was ever born, right? So this man who wants to better America, and the Americans, by and large, believe in him, right? They are not talking about it in a great day for democracy, that this underdog essentially could rise up to the top based on the love in him that his people have. No, it's like, well, look, the world's going to fall apart now. And listen to that. And ask yourself whether that applies to me. Are these politicians speaking about their world falling apart? Or mine as well? Is there a difference in there, right? So, look, ultimately, onwards we go, and I would just hope, and I'll leave it on this, that we can elevate the quality of conversation and the quality of thinking and the expectations and the demands we make of each other. If it's not good enough for you to just tell me that you don't like this person, I will expect an explanation from you, and it has to be based on something concrete. Because otherwise we're just talking about opinions here. And if you're trying to conflate opinions with cold fact, no, you'd be called out for that as well, because that's a nonsense. That's children's thinking. That's magical thinking. Right? We need to move beyond that as Irish people and get a little bit more sophisticated and challenging each other. Right? And again, take the good out of this story. That this man can have whatever you think of him, this man can have the whole system, the whole Western political movement, bar a couple of people that gave support to him, the whole media establishment, nearly everything turned against him. and tried to destroy him. And onwards he goes, smiling and being polite and, yeah, look, I'm here for my country, let's do great things. Let's get there as well as people, right? And it starts with our general election. And the reason why Trump is in power is because so many people got out and voted for him, right? We need to do the same thing. We need to do the same thing. Because this country, it's in a horrible spot at the moment. And my hope has always been, not always, it's been my hope for the last few years that there'll be a knock-on or a ripple effect, directly and indirectly from what happens in America. And we'll see, right? But we need to move beyond this gossip, chatter, stupidity talk, right? Because as soon as you challenge someone and go, well, hang on a second, maybe, yeah, back to the American thing, sorry. The Irish people think that American people are so stupid because they just voted in this horrible person. Have we been looking around this country? All the things that Trump has been accused of, these politicians are doing every single day to you in Ireland, and you voted for him. Right, so what does that make you? Right, glass houses and all that stuff, right? But look, onwards we go. There's a good story there. There's a nation that looks like it's getting back up on its feet. And if that trickles down and influences and inspires the rest of the Western nations, which I believe it will, brilliant. And look, Irish people, as we always tend to be, or as we are always dictated to be, instead of being the instigators, right? Instead of being the first out of the blocks, we always kind of just succumb to things and wait till someone changes it for us, right? And the very nature of that is, if we got a Donald Trump in this country, the vast majority of Irish people would absolutely hate him. They wouldn't listen to a thing he has to say. They'll just go around blah, 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 blah. This is what I think. Blah, 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 blah. That's all I hear with people now, right? And it's shocking, and it needs to change, because we're going around looking at adults. They look like adults, but they're talking absolute garbage, gobbledygook, right? And they've no idea how stupid they sound. And this is a fair thing to say, because people are going around championing the manufactured impression of someone that they've been given and that they've accepted. And they're going around declaring that as if it's an objective fact, when it's not. It's just their opinion. And they're so confused and incapable of thinking for themselves that they can't even see the difference between the two things. They can't see how ridiculous and how repulsive they look when they're going around chattering as if what they feel about another person, when it's not even their opinion. It's been what's been force-fed to them over the last 8 years. And they don't even challenge it. And they declare it as objective fact. And they're staggered when you disagree with them. They're staggered. Nearly physically they will move back if you disagree with them, because they're just been bowled over with the idea of a different thought or a different way of looking at the Rubik's Cube, right? There's a second side to this thing. What? Yeah, there's a second, third and fourth side to this thing. Minds are blown, right? And then you ask them, right, so what you think Americans are oh my God, how could they vote him in again? Why would you say that? Oh, well, I don't really know much about it. Well, shut up then. Just shut up then. Because you're part of a dirty, dirty chain that's just infecting everyone. Every time you share the same approved and manufactured perception of someone, you're handing that on to someone else as if it's true. And the more that is repeated, the more people take it to be true as well. So you have a social duty, I believe, and an obligation to be very, very careful with the poison that you choose to pass on along this chain that we're all bound to, right? Because the more weight you give something, the more weight the next person will give it to. The more you question something, the more open the next person will be to questioning it too. You don't control that. You've very little say over what other people do, but you have a part to play over how you manage what you speak about things when you know very little about it, right? And to be as bold as to say, you know what, oh, yeah, this is what I believe. And then when you're challenged on it, go, well, I wouldn't really know much about it. That's scandalous that people are as brazen to be like that. That should be embarrassing. And that's where we need to be in Ireland, is start to be a little bit embarrassed by those people. And if it is ourselves as well, go, Jesus, yeah, that's a little bit shameful that I'd be going around talking nonsense like that. I'll sharpen myself up here. Because we're not stupid people, right? We're not thick. As much as we like to believe we are, and as much as we've been told that we are, we're not stupid people. We can reason with the best of them, right? We can understand what is true. We can feel when things are not right, okay? And we can understand what hurt is and what honour is and doing the right thing is. We know this. We've a great understanding of it. We just need to be a little bit braver in holding on to things that we don't fully understand and denying ourselves the opportunity of speaking out of turn, right? Denying ourselves the ability of making the mistake of speaking out of turn on things that we know very little about, right? We can do better than that. And we need to mature and grow up pretty quickly. We need to expect more from other people in terms of the quality of conversations and thinking that is going on. And we need to also expect more of ourselves and demand more of ourselves, right? Am I handing on poisoned, distorted information without really understanding it? Yeah. How can I stop that? How can I develop the ability to spot that a little bit quicker and stop myself from doing the devil's work, essentially, right? So look, Trump is back in office. Let America do as great as they possibly can. More power to them. Beautiful stuff. Great. Keep your guns, hold your guns, love your country, love your future, respect yourself. Magic, right? Let Irish people start to feel a little bit of that now as well, right? And call out someone if they're just throwing out these repeated nonsense platitudes, or not even platitudes, but pre-approved phrases about things, right? If people are talking waffle, ask them about it. What are you saying that for? Where'd you get that from? Where'd you get your information? What do you listen to? What do you understand about it? Call them out on it. Stop allowing these uninformed people, willingly ignorant people, who are arrogant enough to assume that because they have a view and they'll say it, everyone else will just agree. You don't have to agree anymore, right? Stop agreeing with nonsense. Stop listening to stupidity and start calling people out. And you can do that in the most respectful and kind way possible. Do it out of a love of what is actually true and a love of what is actually good for people, as opposed to just passing on the poison that you've been told is the correct way of looking at things, right? So onwards we go. General election. Let's make something magic happen in Ireland, hopefully.